During our last two sessions, we discussed the nature and the role of the psychic being in the evolution of the human being. We also noted that the psychic being is not in the gradation, evolutionary gradation of body, life, mind, but it is something that stands behind them, supports them in their evolutionary career, and draws the essence of their experience for its own growth. We also noted that the psychic being shall not be confused with the emotional being, because the place of both, the location of both, is in the heart region. Another point, I am not sure that we dwelt upon it, which Sri Aurobindo discusses in the Life Divine, is that when you plunge inwards to locate and discover your soul, the psychic being, it is likely that you mistake the inner mind, the inner mental being, or the inner vital being, or even the subtle physical being for the psychic, because they also are part of the subliminal being. There is a large freedom, contact with the infinite in the universe, and it is possible that one mistakes them for the still deeper psychic being. Sri Aurobindo describes how between the surface being and the psychic, the soul, there is a large region, what you would call an intermediate zone, where all kinds of glittering impersonations can take place, misguidances can take place, vital deformations can occupy the stage, and these elements, particularly in the vital region, pass off to be deities. They take any form, but these are mentioned by way of precaution, because the revelation of the psychic is not anything dramatic. It is very gentle, slow, diffusing, and there is a serenity, undisturbed serenity about it. where the psychic is awake and active, there is a flow of sweetness, joy, devotion, feeling of surrender, and love. Love, unself-regarding love. That love is not vitiated. Once the psychic is awakened, the next step is the action of the psychic, reaching the influence of the psychic to the instrumental nature, to the mind, to the vital, and to the physical. When the influence of the psychic operates on these personalities, we have what is called the psychic mind, the psychic vital, the psychic emotional, the psychic physical. It's not that they have been psychicized, but they are open to the influence of the psychic. When we come to the point of having an unbroken, continuous link developing into union with the psychic in our external being, even on the surface, we say there is the psychic realization. Last time, I believe, we came to this point of psychic realization. And we have the outflowering of a saint, a God lover. But that is not the end. In this yoga, that is a capital step which should be followed up by what is called psychicization. Psychicization is conversion of the whole of instrumental nature in terms of the psychic. Let us say, we first expose, things don't happen in this logical way, but for sake of clarification, we can analyze and study in this order. When the mind is not only exposed to the light and the influence of the psychic, but there is a conscious attempt to recast the movements of the mind in terms of the psychic nature. There is a remarkable change. We have the right vision. Normally, our mind, enveloped as it is by ignorance, open to deviation of falsehood and false leading, is liable to vision things, grasp things in an incorrect manner. But where the mind yields and accepts the lead of the psychic, there is an automatic right vision of things. The vision always carries with it an automatic discrimination. psychic discrimination. You don't need to analyze, is this right, is this wrong, is this correct? There is a spontaneous barometer-like feeling. The mind automatically sifts the right from the wrong, the true from the false. And the vision that you get, the understanding that you have is authentic. It carries a stamp of authenticity. Naturally, there are other changes in the mind. The mind doesn't have doubts. All of us are heir to doubt. And doubt pursues us a long way in some form or another. But when the psychic action is on the mind, no doubt is possible, because there is an inherent sense of truth, sense of the real, and it does not admit of any doubt. That is the one capital gain, that there is no uncertainty once the mind is opened to the psychic action. When you come to the vital and the emotional parts, they are also the turbidities of the vital, the mixtures of feelings, the calculating element in the vital. All these disappear. There is only a spontaneously organized flow of emotions around the divine and the divine in the world. A childlike adoration flows from the being. Sri Aurobindo says somewhere that even when you see a wicked man, an evil man, your sight does not stop with the exterior of the person. It probes deeper and touches the divinity, touches the divine element in that person. And you feel sorry for the deformation undergone by the person before you. You don't hate him, you don't look down upon him, but you sympathize with him. So the psychic sight, the psychic feeling probes, bores through the surface and touches the divinity of things. So, right feelings, right impulses, these form a characteristic action of the vital and the emotional beings. Even on the physical, our physical living, the psychic has a reformative influence. The physical is nearer the inconscient, the unconscious. So it provides the most obstinate difficulties. Still, the psychic influence, action, recasts the habits and the movements of the physical. To a certain extent, the physical also awakes and moves into new habits of automatic sensitivity to influences or approaches that are not wholesome. An automatic shrinking from spiritually unhealthy influences. The right thing, even in sleep, to awake at the right moment. If you put a wheel and the psychic is active, you wake up exactly when it is good for you, not when you decide to get up. So this, the health of the body, the needs of the body are naturally corrected by the psychic influence. The point is, it is a long labor. You may be able to awake, link yourself with the psychic in a certain period of time. But to recast your instrumental nature in terms of the psychic, make the psychic the monitor of all the movements from top to toe, is a long process requiring vigilance, patience, sincerity. Luckily, in this process of psychicization, there is an immense help by the process of spiritual transformation. As the psychic change goes on, there is also simultaneously an opening to the spiritual consciousness above the mind. The psychic opens the doors outward and upward to the wider consciousness around and to the higher consciousness above the mind. And that is the beginning of spiritual transformation. In the psychic, you go inwards, you open inwards, but in spiritualization, you open upwards, above the mind. So when you sit for meditation, you first pratyahara, indraw the various faculties which are spread out in 100 directions. Bring them together and focus them. Initially, you have to focus. Once the things are brought together, they need a centration, and that is called dharana, concentration. You concentrate on a form, a name, an idea, an image. You conceive of a wide, infinite consciousness above the limited mind of yours. And you suspend, to begin with, the activity of the mind and just stay receptive. Receptive is a static condition where you don't do any kind of effort, but just stay put, without asking for anything, without expecting anything, having only that conception of the infinite and the higher Shakti of the consciousness, and with a silent call before the meditation starts, wait for it. This receptive state of your being does exert a pull, an involuntary pull over the higher consciousness, the force of the higher consciousness, and it responds. Does this happen in every yoga? You would ask. I would say no. When you take up this yoga, developed and perfected by Sri Aurobindo and the Mother, the particular yoga Shakti, the yoga power that works to uplift the human towards the integral divine starts working. That Shakti does not work in a yoga like Raja Yoga or Sahaja Marga or whatever it is. They have different techniques, they have different objectives. How do we know that we are accepted by Sri Aurobindo and the Mother is a usual question? The answer is here. When you sincerely try, aspire and sit, do you feel a flow or a pressure on your head, shoulders, or wherever it is, on the upper portions of the body? You feel some sensation or not? Not immediately. That means there is a response from the Yoga Shakti, from the higher consciousness. And usually, it is a new experience. So the system needs a little time, habit, to accustom itself to this inflow or to this descent of consciousness, or Shakti you may call it. There is not only a new happening, but the old nature offers a certain resistance to assimilate what it is not familiar with. And it is this resistance, very natural, that is experienced by us as a certain heaviness, a certain sensation, a new sensation, but mostly as a heaviness which gets worse if we concentrate upon it into a headache. This is not a normal type of headache. which can be cured by aspirin. It is a sensation formed due to the inability of the system to absorb what flows into it and assimilate it. The best way, if we can do it, is to relax. The most common mistake done is to concentrate, more meditation, more concentration. It worsens the matters, the block gets harder. So one has to relax, consciously let go, so that when the muscles get slackened, there is a greater activity of absorption. Still, if it continues, you have to ignore it. Don't take notice of it. If you go on observing it, it gets more. Ignore it. Occupy yourself in some work, activity, preferably manual activity, which increases the circulation, diverts the attention, and you will see in a few minutes the situation changes. This physical sensation of due to resistance and delay in assimilation happens to begin with in the head area. The mental centers just above the head, in the center of the forehead, eyebrows, and in the throat center. These are what are called mental centers. Anywhere there can be some sensation. It can be some kind of itching sensation, some kind of throbbing, some kind of uneasy, creeping sensation. We have to know that these are all signs that something is happening. We should be glad about it, that something is working, and we need more of gathering of our consciousness, more of readiness to give ourselves to the higher force. That comes by practice. So, in this yoga, at any rate, when we depend not so much on our own effort, on our own power of sadhana, but on a higher Shakti, on a higher yoga force or consciousness, which works in us. The stress is more on relaxation, but a relaxation not into inertia, not into tamas, but a relaxation into light. There must be an awareness. And it is when this automatic adjustment takes place, the next step is to invoke the power to come down, not to always stay in the head, but as Sri Aurobindo says, call it down, and if it and when it comes down, you will feel light in the head. But there will be this action and reaction in this system more or less the vital centers, vital emotional centers, the chest, the abdomen, the navel area. All these step by step, there is an action. And you don't feel heaviness here, but you will feel throbbing. You will feel cool sensation. Don't mistake it to be something, a medical phenomenon. This coolness is not numbness, but something pleasant. It is the first touch of peace. The first touch of peace is in a cool feeling. It is not an atmospheric coolness. And peace is a very necessary foundation for a spiritual work.